everyone. Thank you for joining me today for Cogent Education's webinar on our interactive case study over cell respiration. Today we're going to be talking about some of the great features that all of our case studies include, and then we'll be taking a look into the cell respiration case, which is actually one of our most popular case studies, as you know, probably because that concept is very difficult for students to understand. So, before we jump into that, I just wanted to go over a couple little things. First thing is, if you have any questions or need any assistance with using Uber or viewing my presentation, there is a chat on the right side of Uber. So if you click on the little clock symbol on the right side of Uber, it will open up a chat and you can feel free to type any questions or comments you have in there. I will be sure to check those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my computer screen with you so you can view the PowerPoint presentation and watch the case study. So I'm sharing that now, and please let me know if you did not get that share option or if the screen is not coming through so I can reshare that for you. But I'll give you a couple seconds there to go ahead and click on that so you can see my screen. What you should be seeing is a purple PowerPoint that says Cogent Education on it. All right. So let's go ahead and get started then. So we're talking about the Cell Respiration Interactive Case Study by Cogent Education. And just to give you some background information about some of the things that all of our case studies include, I'm going to go over that just a little bit. Firstly, all the case studies put students into the role of a scientific career solving real-world problems. So students are getting engaged right from the beginning of that case study by solving a real-world problem that relates to them and getting to play the role of many different scientific careers. So it not only helps to engage them in the story, but it also helps open them up to the possibilities and ideas of doing a scientific career. Each case study also enables students to interact with the cellular and molecular world, so they're able to see these concepts in a way that they don't normally get to see through traditional textbook methods. They also help to develop and hone their problem-solving skills through inquiry and exploration. So you're going to see when I demo this case study that there's a lot of different types of questions that we ask them and a lot of different skills they need to use to successfully complete the case and save their patient. Every case also meets state and next generation standards, so you don't have to worry about that. We have gone ahead and aligned all of our cases to those standards, and we have a document for that as well if you need that. Now, as far as the time it takes to complete a case study, that's going to depend on which case you're using and the level of your students. So we offer a variety of case studies that cover many different levels and go into each concept at a different level as well. So for instance, we have cases that are appropriate for an 8th grade level all the way up to a college level, depending on the concept that you are choosing. So that time can run anywhere from about 35 up to 90 minutes, again, depending on the case that you're using. And then as far as technology, the cases do run on Mac and PC laptops and desktops, also tablets and iPads, and on July 1st, cases will also run on Chromebooks and be offered on a web-based streaming option. So if you don't have the ability to download programs in your school, that's okay. We can stream these cases on the internet. And I also, before we jumped into the case study, just wanted to go over one other little thing here. Just wanted to point out that we are research proven and teacher tested. So we did perform a research study for over 3 years with the University of Georgia College of Education with over 2,000 students. What we did was we incorporated 3 case studies into their curriculum. And just with the incorporation of 3 case studies, we saw significant improvements in many learner groups. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed this out, is that we made sure to do our homework. We worked with over 130 partner teachers to make sure that we built a product that will not only help your students understand these concepts, but also help you as a teacher really address your students' needed areas. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the actual case study. All right, so we're looking at cell respiration today. This is probably if not the most popular, one of the most popular cases that is requested, and it's a really cool story that students really get engaged with. So in this story, you are playing the role of a medical toxicologist working with the CIA. And one of the agents, Jared, has been rescued from an island. He was investigating a drug cartel and ate a meal with one of the suspects. After eating that meal, he is starting to experience some trouble breathing and he feels weak and dizzy. So they suspect that Jared has been poisoned. And your job as the medical toxicologist is to find out what poison Jared ingested and then supply the antidote. So let's go and look into Jared's history here. You can see we have our little interactive here showing these muscles getting affected with the poison and that they stop functioning. So this is causing his feeling of muscle weakness, also his shortness of breath and dizziness. So these symptoms suggest that poison is preventing Jared from making ATP, which we all know here as biology teachers. ATP is that molecule that cells use as a source of energy. So we're going to need to investigate cell respiration. So he's on his way to the hospital, and we have to jump in to this manual here and learn about cell respiration. So in this manual section of the case study, students are going to be learning all of the background information on the concept that they will need to solve the case. So you can see here we have it divided up into sections, so they're going to go piece by piece learning about the whole process of cell respiration. And the way that this case teaches cell respiration is very unique, and it's a very effective method. What they do here is they're going to have students learn about it backwards. And what I mean by that is instead of learning in the normal order, going with glycolysis first, then Krebs cycle, they're going to learn backwards and learn about ATP first, ATP synthase, from there go to the electron transport chain, to the carriers, to glycolysis, to Krebs cycle. So they're doing it backwards. So they're starting with the product first, and then going to the beginning of how that product is made. So it's shown to be a very effective method and also a very unique method. So we'll start out, of course, with ATP. We're going to show them what this molecule looks like. They can rotate it, get a good look at it. They get to play with this simulation in a similar manner to a video game, which is what they're, of course, very used to, playing with games on their phones or games on consoles at home. So it's a very relatable experience for these students. Let's go ahead and jump into ATP synthase. I wanted to show you this animation because I think it is pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and dive into this cellular view. And you can see here's an example of one of our first types of questions. Like I said previously, these cases have many different types of questions. So this one's an example of a matching question. These labels here were at the bottom corner, and they needed to properly label this system. Now that we're inside of the inner membrane here, we're going to look at ATP synthase. And if I press this little play button here, you're going to see ADP binding with the phosphate to make ATP. And this simulation really connects what they've read to what they're seeing. So it helps them to really understand the concept, not just memorize it, to really retain and understand what is going on. They get to see it, they get to read about it, and they get to interact with it. All right, and then of course too, we're going to talk about proton gradients. This case is a great one to pair with our diffusion case study, so they can get that background knowledge of diffusion and concentration gradients before jumping into this. So the cases do really pair really well together. So here's another one of our questions. We're going to ask them, which direction are the ions and molecules going to move? Are they going to go from a high concentration to a low concentration? Hopefully they will pick the correct answer, but if not, we will provide them with an explanation, of course, for every question. And you can see that there in that green box, the explanation there, that it will move from areas of high concentration to low concentration. right, let's go ahead and jump into our electron transporter chain, ETC. This one also, we have so many animations in this case. I think it's great because, as you know, this concept is very difficult for students to sort of visualize and internalize. And so when they have these animations here, they can kind of watch the process happen right in front of their eyes and build it all up together. We also, of course, talk about the electron carriers, because where are these electrons going to come from? So here you can see we have NADH and FADH2, and we're showing those electrons being transported. And then here's another example of a different type of question. This is sort of a question that's going to use some prediction skills. So we showed them the electron source and how many hydrogens are pumped out by which carrier. So if it's NADH, they're going to get 10 hydrogens. If it's FADH2, they're going to get 6. So the question asks them, from the table above, from that data, use the data analysis skills to determine if more ATP is made when NADH is the source or FADH is the source, or is it the same? So this is going to use some of those data analysis skills. And it's a great question for you as a teacher to check the student's understanding at this point in the case study. So you are able to track them throughout the entire case study. I'll show you that a little bit later on, but I just wanted to show you an example here of a question where you as a teacher can see, are they really understanding the case so far, or do they need a little extra help from you to move forward? So let's go ahead and jump into glycolysis here so you can see this method. So we went ahead and showed them a big picture view, of course, because we are building up this process step by step backwards. So we're going to show them an overall view first. Here you can see that. We have our ATP synthase here. We have ETC. And then we're going to add on to that glycolysis. So let's go ahead and click on that and jump into it. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of what this looks like here. We have our energy investment phase, our energy payoff phase, and something else I forgot to mention is we also have a glossary in every single case study. So it's a scientific glossary. So any of these terms they may not have heard before or not fully understand, they can always open up the glossary here and look them up and read some additional information about them. So you really shouldn't need any additional resources to complete these case studies with your students because we provide background information, we provide a glossary, we provide questions as well, and we provide a way for you as a teacher to track those students. So here we are watching the glucose being split. Just wanted to show you again another example of these really cool animations that are in this case. And now we will jump to the last step here in cell respiration, the Krebs cycle. So again, you can see we have that big picture view, then we go into an up-close view of the Krebs cycle. And we're going to play again another really awesome animation. So we're going to watch them all go through these steps together while we're learning it in real time. And you'll notice that when students take exams on these concepts, they will remember these animations and these pictures, and it will help them on the exams. They're going to remember their patients. They're going to remember Jared. They're going to remember looking at the electron carriers and their shapes and what they did in those animations. So really connecting a visual aspect to the text really helps these students understand these concepts. And then at the very end of the manual, we have a review, of course, where now they're going to watch the entire process in the correct order. So we built up the process backwards. They did it step by step, learning about the actual product first, learning it from product step ATP first. And now we're going to review it and watch it in the normal order that you would see in a textbook. So everything all comes first full circle and builds together. All right. Now that we've completed the manual, we're going to jump into the final portion of the case, which is solving the actual case. So now we got to help Jared. Now that we know about cell respiration and how that works, we're going to actually help our patient out, Jared. So we need to find out specifically which stage of cell respiration is not working and then give Jared the treatment for that. Let me just jump and check really quickly if there's any questions. All right, we have a question here from Heidi. Is it Self-paced. Yes, these cases do pace the students to make sure that they are reading and really retaining information. So they can't just skip ahead or skip to the end, because we know if we let them do that, then they definitely would. So students do have to move at the pace that the case is giving them to enable them to fully read and pay attention to this information. So great question. And then we have another question here. Do they do these individually or in groups? So it can be either way. These cases are built in a way where it can be customized depending on whatever your classroom model is. So if you want them to do it individually, that's great. That's the most common way that they're used, and you can definitely do that and track them. If you want them to do it as a group activity or in pairs, you can do that as well. It's whatever's best for your classroom model. You know your students best. You know what's going to work for them. So we don't force you into using them a specific way. We want you to use these cases in the best way for your students. So if you want to have them do it as a homework assignment, you can do that. If you want to do a flipped classroom model, you can do that as well. We've had some teachers even put the case up on a projector and have everyone do it as a class. And then we've had some teachers even have students do the case individually and then get into groups and create a presentation on the story. So there's many different ways that these cases can be used to fit your specific classroom model. All right, so let's jump into saving Jared, because we need to help him out. And we're going to start by collecting data on his muscle cells. So of course, we're going to start with our control data, which you can see here is our healthy muscle cells. And then from there, we're going to collect data on Jared's cells. So you can see here, I've gone ahead and gone through this simulation. So you can see here for Jared's cells, his pyruvate levels did not change, but he has an increase in NADH and a decrease in those hydrogen concentrations, the proton concentrations. So we have our control data, we have Jared's muscle data. Now we're going to go ahead and analyze 4 possible poisons and see how those affect muscle cells so that we can compare the data and figure out from that comparison what is the specific poison that is affecting Jared. So you can see here we have 4 different possible poisons for Jared. Deoxyglucose, arsenic, oligomycin, and cyanide. And we're going to assess each one of those. So let's go ahead and start with the deoxyglucose. I'm not going to do all 4 of these, but I just wanted to show you. We're going to take our micropipetter there. We're going to inject a healthy muscle cell with the deoxyglucose, and then we're going to see what data comes in for that. So you can see it has decreased the levels of everything. Whereas if you look at Jared's muscle cells, it only decreased for the intermembrane proton concentration. So that means that deoxyglucose is not the correct poison that affected Jared. Now what students are doing here, what you're seeing with these predictions, is before we show them the data, they need to predict how they think this poison will affect muscle cells. So I showed you here an example where a student got 2 right out of 3. So they correctly predicted 2 of them. They didn't correct the last one. This would be an indicator for you as a teacher to possibly discuss with the student why they may have thought that the proton concentration was going to not change as opposed to decrease. But, I can say from this example here, you can see that the student is probably grasping the majority of the concept, and maybe their skills will improve over time as they continue through the case study. If they need extra information on these poisons, we of course provide it to them. There is a step in the case where they have to read about each one of them, but if they forget or they want to review, they can always go backwards into the manual section. They can also open up the glossary, and here you can see in my glossary I have deoxyglucose, and it has a text explanation and it also has a visual explanation. So everything the student should need to solve the case is within the case. All right, so we're going to repeat this process for the next 3 poisons. We're going to collect data on arsenic, oligomycin, and cyanide. And each time we're doing that, we're giving the students the option to revise their hypothesis, because it's important that students know that it is okay to make mistakes, and it is even better to learn from those mistakes. So we make sure we give them the option here for every experiment to change their hypothesis and change what they think is the poison that is affecting Jared. So you'll be able to see each hypothesis that they write, so you can see how they're changing their answers and how their thought process is changing. But we do make sure that they are not penalized for being wrong, because real scientists do this all the time. They form a hypothesis, they collect data, and they learn from that data, and they change their hypothesis. So they're doing that same process here. After all the data has been collected, they will find that cyanide is the correct poison, and then they're going to supply an antidote. So here you're going to watch the antidote for cyanide, and they're going to watch the treatment interact here, so they can see it come all full circle as they save Jared. At the very end of every case study, we do have a case summary, which is formatted like a lab report would be. So students are going to be able to practice their scientific writing skills, which we know is something that they struggle with. So every case study has the chance for them to practice and develop those scientific writing skills. So you can see here we have it formatted into sections. They have to, of course, talk about their background, what were his symptoms, and then talk about their data, the experiments their data showed, and how that led them to their correct hypothesis. And then their conclusions as well as to how this poison affected Jared, how did it stop cell proliferation from creating that ATP. And that is the end of this case study. I didn't show you every single little piece of it because this case study typically takes about one class period to complete. But I showed you the majority of it, the introduction part, the manual part, and then the application of the case study and saving Jared. So from this example, you now know the framework that all of our case studies follow, which is that 3-part section. You have your intro, your learning of the concept, and then your application of the concept. And all cases follow that format, which has shown, like I said, through research to be extremely successful. And let's go ahead and check these questions. I see we have a couple more questions here. Can they move back and forth in the manual and take as long as needed? Yes, they can go backwards to any section in the case to reread or to view animations. They can't change their answers now if they go backwards, because of course they could just go through the case and then go back and put all the right answers. But they can go back and reread anything that they need to. So always they're able to go backwards. They just cannot skip forwards. So, good question. Another question we have here, can regular biology students handle this case? Yes. This case is one of a few cases that we have that have 2 tracks. So this case actually has an intro biology track and a AP biology track. So for your students, you can determine which track is most suited for them. So it can definitely be used in a regular biology class. And I will show you in a little bit the list of all 15 cases that we have and what levels are appropriate for them. And we also have an additional document that we can provide that has all 15 case topics listed with the content provided within each of them and the appropriate level for each case study. So you can have this document to decide what are the best cases to try out for your students. All right, so this is the assessment tool I had mentioned previously. This is the place where you as the teacher are able to monitor your students in real time as they're progressing through the case study. This tool is very powerful. It was requested by our partner teachers that I mentioned previously. Through this tool, you can actually see what your students are thinking while they're learning, which honestly I've never heard of in schools before for technology, so it's a very powerful tool. So what you're able to do here is, you can see we have some colored boxes. Anything that's a blue box or a blue column are our free response questions, such as the hypothesis questions where they're typing them up. Those blue questions you're going to assess yourself as the teacher. And then for the other questions that you see where you're seeing red, green, and yellow, those are automatically assessed by the case study. So through that, you're able to see exactly when a student is forming a misconception and then you're able to help them immediately when that misconception is being formed, which is an extremely critical time in that student's learning. And if you're able to stop that misconception while it's being formed, you can guarantee they're going to have better success with that concept later on. So instead of having to wait a week or so later to go through a huge stack of papers to grade, you're able to instantly see what's going on with your students. Is your class struggling overall in one section that you can discuss? Do you have a couple students that need a little extra help than others? Is there a question that they're finding confusing? Is there a topic that maybe that they're weak in that needs a little more instruction? So it can help you to, shape your curriculum. It can help you shape what skills you're going to assess with your students as well. So it's a very powerful tool, and it's included in the case. It's already in there for you to track them on your computer or on your tablet on a website. Super easy. You just go on to the website, you log in, and then you can track them right then and there. Also, the report for their scores can be easily downloaded. If you would like to have a PDF downloaded of the report, you can do that as well. All right, and here is the list of all 15 biology case studies that we have right now. We are also in the process of developing chemistry and physics case studies for the future. But currently we have 15 biology cases released, and you can see there's 4 cases that have the number 2 next to them. The cases with the number 2 next to them are the ones that I mentioned that have 2 tracks, an intro biology track and a more advanced AP level track. So you can differentiate depending on your student level. We also have 5 cases there that are only suitable for an AP or college level. Those concepts, of course, are very advanced. The cases in turn are also very advanced. So if you have AP classes, neurobiology classes, even college courses, you can use those AP cases to apply to those students as well, to give them a little bit of a challenge. And then the other cases can be used in those classes as well if you're starting to teach the concept, if you need a review. So to sum that up, if you're an AP teacher, you have 15 options. If you're an intro biology teacher or a regular biology teacher, you have 10 options for case studies here. And on our website, you can actually view preview videos of every single one of these case studies. They're about 2 to 3 minutes long. All right, and now is the time where we will open it up for some more questions. I know I answered a few already, but if you have any more questions about that assessment tool that I mentioned, the framework of the cases, the case topics, anything at all, technology implementation questions, feel free to go ahead and throw those out. You can also reach me by email if you prefer. My email is listed right there, just mchapman@cogenteducation.com if you'd rather send some questions later on through email. So let me go ahead and go back in here and see what questions we have. Are there helpful guides for the heat map? Yes, that's a great question. We actually have video tutorials and a fact page on our website, so you can watch video tutorials for how to use it, and also you can read those that fact page as well. But if that's not enough information, you can of course always contact me or someone from tech support to help you out with that as well. We respond extremely quickly to all questions because we know as teachers time is very precious to you, so we make sure to respond as quickly as possible to any sort of questions you may have if the videos and fact section is not enough. So that's a great question. All right, and we have a couple more minutes. If anyone else has any more questions, feel free to go ahead and type it in there in that chat. If not, please do check out our website. We actually have a free trial on our website where you can view one of 3 possible case studies. Cell respiration is one of them on that free trial. So if you wanted to view the entire case for yourself and see how it's paced and how it looks, you can do that on the free trial as well. All you need to do is go to our website. I'll pull it up for you right now. cogenteducation.com. And then you'll see this blue Start Your Free Trial button right here. So if you just click on that, you fill out a form and you can jump right into a case if you want to do the web version, or you can download the case to do if you need a downloaded version as well. But your options for that are cell respiration, nitrogen cycle, and enzymes. And enzymes is a really cool case. If you haven't seen it already, it's one of our newer ones, and it is Awesome. All right, so that's going to be it for today. You saw background information, all the features the cases include. You got to see an inside look at the cell respiration case study. Again, please visit our website, cogenteducation.com, for tons of other information like state standards, preview videos, funding opportunities. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or contact us on our website, and we will be sure to get back in touch with you. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.